My name is Rick Bardo. I'm with Accenture. I'm managing director out of the Boston office. I run our Northeast insurance practice, as well as a few accounts, insurance accounts. But most importantly for this session, I'm a co-sponsor, executive sponsor from Accenture for the Fintech Innovation Lab for New York. And we co-sponsor that with the Partnership Fund for New York City. And today we wanted to just provide an opportunity to deliver some information about the lab and the program that we have, and then also make sure we had some time to answer any questions that folks might have. And additionally on the phone, and I'll let Shelley introduce herself, but we have an alumni from the program as well, and she can also help to talk about the benefits of the program. And I think one of the things we really want to highlight is how this is different from other innovation labs that might be out there. So I don't know, Shelley, if you want to give a little introduction as well.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I am Shelley Cloza, founder and CEO of True Flood Risk. We were a participant in the class of 2020, so one of the early COVID years where we had to pivot from being in person to solely online. But it was an amazing experience, and look forward to today's conversation with everyone.
Great. Thank you, Shelley. Thanks for joining and for your continued support for the lab. So, just to introduce the lab, it is an annual program. I think this is our 13th year, Morteza, I think, right? It's in 13th year. And it's a program, I mean, you can read the slide, for early and growth stage companies, and really in the financial services and the insurance space is where we focus. And what we look to do is really select companies that could benefit from the unique offerings of the lab. And we have different cohorts that help with the program. We've got our financial institutions, right? And senior technology executives from those institutions. Those are folks like New York Life and Citibank and Travelers and Bank of America, right? So big financial institutions where we've got executives that are donating their time to help sponsor and mentor participants in the program. We also have venture capital firms that help with the lab as well. So there's opportunity to get FaceTime and coaching from them around the different things that you might be looking to do operationally and from a financial perspective with capitalizing your businesses. And then we've got executives and residents and experts that we also bring to bear in a coaching manner for participants. And so it's a 3-month program. These cohorts work directly with you to refine and test your products, right? To help you understand how your products and services might fit in the market. And, if there are additional things that you might want to think about in terms of market context or technology trends, they can help with relationship development, and then, any other guidance that you might need in order to help your companies become more successful. This is not a sales program though, right? So I just want to be really clear. This is a mentorship program to help you strengthen and mature the way you go to market and validate the products and services that you have with the needs that are out there in the market. And I think that makes it much better than a sales program for this lab. We can go to the next page. So, the other thing that we are really prioritizing in this lab is, how do we move participants from where they are into a more successful place in the market, and how do we create value both for your company, but also for the city of New York and for the market in general. And you can see some of the key stats here. in terms of investment that has been raised, in terms of validated proofs of concept that are put out there, jobs that are created, um, and then also the longevity of the companies as they exit the lab and continue to grow and prosper. And we have a lot of alum companies that continue to come back. We've got alumni days and alumni social events, and we've got folks like Shelley that have gotten enough value out of the program that they're willing to come back and talk about the benefits and how it helped them. So that's really great. These stats are really a testament to the quality of the program and the value that the program can add to your own endeavor. We can go to the next page. So I named a few of the sponsoring financial institutions. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I'll pause here for a few seconds just so you can look through the list. It's a pretty marquee set of financial institutions, and you'll be assigned multiple institutions as your personal chaperones and mentors. They will meet with you on a regular basis. They'll open up their organization. They'll provide a safe place for you to test messages and to test the way that your products and services fit in a institutional environment. And then, here are some of the venture capital firms too. And certainly, you'll have access to conversations with leadership from these companies, to the extent that you need coaching and other things around raising capital and things for your company. So, what do participants receive as they're going through the program? I mentioned that you'll be assigned a number of financial institutions as chaperones, typically 4 to 6. And they'll give you an opportunity to test your messages, to test your products and services. They'll give you feedback. They'll help you understand how you go through and market and talk to large companies, procurement organizations, and other things like that. We have our mentor network, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And then we've got, 99 alumni that are involved. We've got proofs of concepts and other things. That's the pedigree of this program that we can use to provide additional context. And there's no fee to apply for the program, which I'm sure is always great to hear. So, as we go through the program, there'll also be session topics that everyone will be able to attend. We will have discussions on how to do proof of concepts, around how to navigate procurement, around the regulatory and compliance environment, especially for financial services and for insurance. That's really important. And then there'll be some key speakers that you'll have access to. Some of them are listed here. But it really is a pretty open program. If there are specific things that your enterprise needs, those are the things that we can talk about, and we can help to arrange and set things up. I know personally, in years past, there have been startups that have said, as a senior consulting professional, maybe you could do a session with our staff around how to do program management, right? Because the projects and proofs of concepts that we're doing for institutional customers, they sort of challenge us in terms of the scope and the magnitude. So would it be possible to have a little training session on that? Or the macro environment for insurance, because I'm an insurance person, but we've got banking people as well. What's that looking like? What are trends? How's that impacting the environment? How's the economic environment changing the landscape? So there's an opportunity to have custom sessions as well. And then media messaging, PR training, other things like that. And so, in our mentor network, we've got some pretty successful and formidable folks that are in residence staff that help to support our startups that are in the program. Again, I won't go through all these folks. You can read them, but folks that have had an impact in the business and in the market, um, including folks that are specific to financial services and banking, asset management, insurance, et cetera, right? And so, if you're asking yourself, who should apply, basically, if you're an emerging tech company or a startup and you're serving the financial services or insurance industries, then this is a program for you. What we're looking for are companies that have innovative ideas that have identified sort of a space in the market where there's untapped value or something unique that might help to eliminate friction or fill a gap that's not currently being serviced by another vendor or product or service. Um, we're hoping that you have at least a beta version of the product. Not really hoping, you should have beta version. So when you're meeting with the chaperones and you're going to demo day, you have something that you can actually show so that you can get feedback. Because if you can't get the feedback, then it really limits the effectiveness of the program for you. Um, you know, we've done a lot of things virtual, especially over the last few years, but we really are trying to have as much in-person interaction as we can. So, from late March to late June, there'll be a number of things in New York City that we'll expect to be present at. And from a funding and investment perspective, we basically have companies join us that are in a range from seed funding all the way through to Series B. Um, so that's really if you meet some of these criteria, or these are things that sort of characterize your own enterprise, then you'd be a good candidate for this program. Um, one of the things that we do every year as well is we interview all of our financial institutions, and many of them have been with us from the beginning, but the landscape changes every year. And so we always try and look at what are the trends that are most interesting to the financial institutions. And the financial institutions help us select the finalists that will actually go into the program. Um, and here are some of the areas that they said are top of mind for them. So, data, and this is sort of a broad term, but predictive analytics, AI, insight generation, fraud management. It's been very popular for the last year and a half as well. So how do you use data in innovative ways? How do you use data to create value in the organization? Um, Digital client engagement. So, COVID sort of changed the landscape underneath all of us. I don't care how big or small your enterprise was, but when your customers basically don't want to meet with you in person, you've got to find ways to create an insightful and contextualized experience in a digital way. And so this is continuing to be a trend. Future of work, again, COVID created a lot of change in the way that companies work, the way they use real estate, the way that they deploy teams and collaborate with teams in lots of different locations. And so it's redefining the way that organizations work. Inclusion and diversity is a topic that continues to be very popular. Metaverse has sort of come on the stage in a big way this year. In my insurance portfolio, I've got a couple of dozen large insurance clients here in the Northeast that are in my portfolio. And I'd say at least 75% of them have reached out to have a metaverse conversation. And when we talk about metaverse, we're not talking about just slapping an Oculus on your head. We're talking about the connection between the real world and the digital world, so telematics, Internet of Things, digital banking, smart homes, um, contextualized digital experiences, AI, computing on the edge. These are all things that collectively sort of make up the metaverse. It doesn't just have to be something that exists wholly in the VR world. Payments is popular topic. This landscape continues to change. There's a lot of new entrants and disintermediated parties here. So how is this continuing to change? Risk and compliance, especially around the data environment, digital identity and fraud, and then sustainability. This is also, it continues to be a rising topic. And it's not just the environmental and social aspects, it's also about ethics and about as a synthetic starts to become more real, how are you, managing subconscious, unconscious bias and other things out of the solutions that are being built. So, these are some of the things that we've talked through with our financial institutions. And if you've got solutions that sort of any of these categories, and I think they'd also be good ones to bring into the application process. So here are some of the key dates. The application window is open. Applications close next Thursday. Folks that are chosen for as a finalists, those demos are going to be in early February, and then we will pick the finalists from the demo days there, and the program will start in late March of 2023, and then it'll culminate on a demo day, which is going to be in June. So I think that's all of the slides that we had, and I went through it pretty quick, but we're here for any questions that you might have. And I don't know, Shelley, if there's anything you want to say before we open up the floor for questions.
I'd like to just to see what kind of questions come up, and then I can kind of, weave it in that way too.
Perfect.
I have a quick question. So will these slides be available? Will you be able to email them to us?
I think they're on the website, aren't they, Marteza?
Yeah, all of this information is quite public, so we're more than happy to share it with you after the session. And the session will be recorded. We'll also share that.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're most welcome.
Yes. I see a hand up.
Hi there, this is Evgeny from Pilotbird. We fight fraud in insurance for disability and workers' compensation claims. I'm reaching out to ask a question about, is there any investment from the fund, and is there any equity commitment, or could you talk a little bit about the financial terms of the engagement?
Yeah, I mean, in years past, we did take a small warrant, but we're not doing that anymore. So, in terms of financial commitment to the program, there is no fee or equity commitment for that.
And
right?
there's
Keep me honest, Corteza, right? There's not this year.
Yeah, this year we are not taking any equity or warrants. Yes, so there's no fee to apply, and obviously we do not invest. The whole concept of the program is that you spend time with your target customers. On the back of it, we do identify commercial opportunities, both the partnership fund and Accenture.
Thank you.
Let's see, Craig, you had your hand up?
Yes, thank you. This is Craig with Spended. We're a predictive analytics, kind of an ability to pay metric company and startup about innovative alternative data for lenders. My question for you has to do with qualifications. I saw seed to Series B, that level. If we're a bootstrapped entity with a fairly well developed MVP product in place that does not exclude us, I would assume. Is that correct?
Yes, it does not exclude you. You're more than welcome to apply. Typically, what we've seen, the most successful and the ones that get selected are within that window, but we also have folks who apply prior to that and after that.
Okay, thank you.
Why don't we talk with Shelley for a little bit, and then we'll see if there's other questions that come in. So, Shelley, how did you hear about the lab, and why did you apply to the FinTech lab?
So it was interesting. I was at an event back in the day when you used to go to events in New York, and I ended up meeting the founder of Goal Setter. Her name is Tanja Van Coort, and she ultimately appeared on like Shark Tank. And I thought that she had the most wonderful story and highly recommended the program. And so that's when we dug into it. We've participated in other, accelerator programs before. And, this particular experience was completely different, and it blew away all of our expectations. Just you hear amazing things about, the Accenture FinTech Lab, but once you're actually in the program, you really start to see the full potential of it. So for us, it was, a word of mouth. We met someone who had a really great experience, and it was spot on.
And you said that it exceeded your expectations. What expectations did you have coming in, and how were they exceeded?
Okay, so, well, number one, we were in the class that came in right in the beginning of COVID, and it could have been very easy for all of, for the program to say we're not moving forward because we're in like the beginning days of COVID. But the fact that everyone was able to pivot so quickly and still make it a really great experience for everyone, in itself was a major accomplishment. But really for us, it was the quality of the conversations. So we already had, we were beyond, beta when we into it. We had a few, clients and so forth. So, but we really wanted to have introductions, right? That's one of the key parts of this program is, having the opportunity to reach leadership, to have candid conversations with decision makers. And that is what, one of the most amazing parts of this program is, and also to refine your MVPs, or to refine what your solution will be. In the case of True Flood Risk, we went into the program, and by the way, we are a very niche solution. We focus on climate risk, but one aspect of it, and that is flood. And, is that a potential concern? No, because there was a need for it, and the all of the different carriers and the financial institution partners saw the value. In fact, they saw more value in our technology than we ever imagined. So we went in to the program thinking that we were simply an insurance solution. But during our conversations and being partnered with our chaperones and being partnered with financial institutions, that was our very first foray, by the way, talking to financial institutions. We suddenly discovered that there was a whole market opportunity that we were overlooking, and that we've been able to get traction in recent years as a result of this discovery with our work in the lab.
That's great. I remember that too, when you're going through it. Well, and you touched on this a little bit, right? That it helped to expand sort of your view of the market and where you could go. But, how did you receive that? And what was the level of engagement with the mentors and the financial institutions that you worked with?
And again, okay, we were partnered, I believe it was with, 6 organizations. And you're going to find in your experiences that there are going to be people who are pushing hard for your solution. So, you're going to see a couple of programs that really, get pilots all the way through, and you'll be able to complete all of your work in the lab. And then there's others that you might find that they're interested, but they're not as, proactive or fast. So I think it's going to really, vary depending on the work that you put into it, and then making sure that it's aligned with the business objectives. I would really suggest making certain during that initial kickoff call with the different financial institutions and carriers, is that you have a very candid conversation. Ask them questions. They're going to know enough about your organization, because you've already going to go through the interviewing process and the demo days just to get to the program. So I think one of our mistakes, if you ask me, like, what was our mistake? I feel as though we should have taken advantage of that intake call even more with all of our partners. We learned and we adjusted, down the road, but up front, we should have been better listeners of saying, what are your pain points, rather than trying to just simply put our solution forward. And I hope that makes sense, because this program really is designed to be two ways. It's you an opportunity to put your solution forward, but also to hear what are those pain points that are being missed by, these major companies, right? Why aren't they doing this in-house? Why aren't they already, thinking about this? So you're bringing this great new innovation to the table, and really finding that synergy between the two. That's really a unique opportunity.
That's great. How's the participation ended up impacting your business?
So we're still working with a couple of our companies that we were assigned, to the program. I would say really, it's your time after the lab, after the 3-month program, that is extremely critical and extremely important to keep those relationships and keep those dialogues going. And also, Accenture is extremely supportive of its alumni. I can, say, firsthand that we've had an opportunity to have meaningful conversations with clients who are not necessarily part of the FinTech program, but because we're part of this overarching network of alumni and cohorts, that there's a lot of opportunities and the work that you do outside of the lab. Now, we also had a unique situation where some of the other cohorts and other alumni end up having, we have synergies, and we, have had conversations to potentially, work together. So I really encourage you to look at this as an entire ecosystem, not just from the learning from, doing, pilots in the lab, but being part of a broader network, and how you can certainly benefit even after the program is over.
Great. How was the overall application process for you? Was it hard? Do you have any tips on for folks as they contemplate applying for the program this year?
Well, I love it when there's, a maximum number of characters or words, when you have to apply for a program, because it really forces you to rethink how you are positioning yourselves. And I think, and even from our own experiences during the application process, I think we defined ourselves a certain way, but by the end of the program, we were something completely different. We evolved. So use this application process. The application is very straightforward. They're not asking for anything that you probably don't already have in one of your pitch decks or your sales and marketing materials. So you probably have a lot of the information, but just think about the story, right? Like, how can you set your application apart from all of the other applicants worldwide? So really think about the impact of your words and the impact of the work that you're doing, the important work that you're doing.
Terrific. I see we have a question. Michelle, do you have a question?
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I came in late, so I'm sure you probably already had this answered, but for what stage companies would this be for? Is it pre-seed, seed, A, B round?
Seed through Series B.
Seed through Series B?
Yes, please.
Awesome,
Yep.
thank you.
And just to add some more color to that, right? We don't particularly care about your funding. We care about where your product is. Do you have a product that you can share with financial services institutions and get valuable feedback and have valuable conversations. Sometimes you're there before a seed round. Sometimes, you might be too late, even though you're at Series A, you might have a ton of customers and you might not be a good fit for the lab. So I think it's really about where you're from a product journey, but that's what we have seen the typical company's window to be at. But we have absolutely had pre-seed and we've had post-Series A in the past.
Yeah, that's a good clarification. Like, have something to show, right? That's
Thank you.
important.
Yes.
Let's see. Yes, Evgeny.
Evgeny again here from Pilotbird. We fight fraud for disability and workers' compensation claims. My question is, what is track record for startups that have gone through the lab and raised within 3 to 6 months? Do you guys track any metrics or success on the funding side post the lab, post the graduation?
So total funding for all the startups that have gone through the lab is about close to $3 billion after they have left the lab, but we don't have stats on specifics of what exactly that raising looks like within the 3 to 6 months window. It is obviously very unique to each startup. We have about 10 venture capitalists that are part of the program. And then when we end the lab with a demo day, we invite the broader financial service community who are going to cut the checks, and then also the broader investment community. And we do get a lot of requests to make connections.
Thank you. While I still have the mic, question is, I know that the lab is actually a global organization. I think you guys have a branch in London as well. Any collaboration for the founders or between the partners, the sponsoring partners, the financial institutions, between different branches?
Yes, there's a lot of collaboration between the 3 chapters. They run at different timing for that very reason. We have startups that have gone through one of the lab and entered the other one. Also, we share best practices, but there are some nuances in terms of how the lab runs for that particular region, given the focus of the clients being present in that region.
Thanks.
Other questions from the group? Any closing remarks, Shelley, any tips or things you want to share?
I just want to say, maybe you've had this is for all the founders who are on the call, maybe you've had experiences, being a part of other, startup and accelerator programs, and this is, like I said in the very beginning, like this is different where in other cases where you're basically you're waiting until, a partner expresses interest in what you're doing, okay? This is very unique and different because it is far more interactive and far more, you really, it's an opportunity. You have a sponsor, you have a chaperone who has volunteered to help you navigate an organization, navigate, everything, and the number of speakers that they have. So there's throughout the the program, there'll be different. In our case, they were virtual, conversations, but having executives, from leading companies talking about the procurement process, talking about best ways to, address some of these business issues are really, unique. And also, we haven't really stressed enough about the executives in residence. So I know that Rick had a screen up with, there was about 7 of them. All of them are amazing and help to facilitate. They really help to, listen, like, what are you looking to achieve? How can we help? Never in my life, before has anyone, come forward and said, we're here to help you. And it was just such an amazing opportunity. And I really encourage you to, take a lot of time at your application. Think about how you want to position yourself, how you're going to differentiate yourself. And also, make sure that as you look at the list of the companies involved, how you can, help alleviate some of the pain points that they have in today's market. And have fun with it too, honestly. Like I say, the alumni groups is great. Still have conversations, even, LinkedIn and, emails. It's a really great opportunity.
Great. Thank you, Shelley. Last call for questions.
If I can quickly add that, me, Rick, and Shivani and our FinTech Innovation Lab team, both the Partnership Fund and Accenture, we orchestrate the process. And our goal is to really get your application in as good of a shape as you can. And we are here for questions. There's nothing in the application that's to get you or tricky. It's pretty straightforward. There's a video that we added a couple years ago, and we got really good feedback from our financial services institutions because they're really viewing this a little before the holidays, a little after the holidays. And to that point, you start really getting exposure to your target customers from the moment you apply. So we highly encourage you to apply. And we are here to give you any feedback. We're just an email away if you have any questions.
Sure. Shelley, we had a question. Could you elaborate more about the schedule and the program, the weekly commitment? I know it's different for different folks. So what was that like for you?
So I will say for us, so again, it depends on how many different organizations that you've been partnered with. But usually that first month, you're going to want to, you as a founder, you're going to want to commit the majority of your time with this. And again, pull in your team members, pull in your tech team, pull in your product managers, as you need. But you as a founder, you're going to want to, this is 12 weeks for a really unique opportunity for you. Yes, you're going to need to, potentially raise money. Yes, you're going to need, keep clients happy. But these opportunities and introductions are absolutely worth your time. So that first month is going to be the kickoff calls, right? And it might be rapid fire. It might be like, okay, everyone's ready to go. We're going to start having conversations, in the first week. You might also find that it's going to take several weeks to even get on someone's calendar. That means you're already 2 weeks into this program. So for you, you're going to want to, make sure that you seize the first dates possible for any conversations and come prepared for each of those conversations. And then really, to make the best use of your time in the lab is to set parameters with your pilot test. A pilot, we all know that pilots can go off in many different, directions, right? So my recommendation is, what does success look like to you? What does success look like to the client, to the different companies as well, and to have an agreement on what those metrics might be, what are those milestones, so that you can go into this and you as an organization, as you as a startup, can say, this was a successful experience, this is what we hope to get out of it. And again, please use this lab part as just really the starting point in your journey. And the one thing that I did want to mention that I failed to mention earlier on is the support of the FinTech Lab. That the communications from them is remarkable. They are also serving as your advocates. So if you're not getting the response that you need from a certain contact, they're more than happy to get a nudge. They're more than happy to help you, figure out the best way for you to, look at a pilot or, things. So again, like lots of different, people are there as resources for you. I hope that answers the question.
Michelle, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I have two questions. The first question is, who do we call? Who can we email or call if we have further questions? And how many companies apply, and how many are accepted every cohort?
So we will respond to this call to all the folks who attended with the deck and that link to the application, and you can respond back with any questions. It'll come from my colleague Shivani. And to your second point, we get a couple hundred applications, and the selection is about 5% of that. But there are various stages. So there's there is a written application that you'll submit, and then we select a subset or down select for the February invite. And then from there, we further down select for the cohort, and which ends up being roughly 5% of the applicants.
So the ones who get to the second stage, or what percent gets to the second stage?
Yeah, I don't know the exact specifics. It varies year to year based on
10 to 15% probably.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, fair.
Got it. Thank you.
And at that stage also, it's a consensus-driven program, right? So we need to be able to find about 4 to 6 mentors, but there are definitely offline connections that happen. If any of the folks that have seen your application or get to see you in February and are interested, but we don't have consensus, then we do make offline connections if they request it, and that's happened in the past.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions today? Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Thank you, Shelley, for helping today too. This your experience and the insight that you share is really valuable.
And again, like I say, we are very grateful for the lab and the work that we were able to do in the lab, and most importantly, what we're able to do today too. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving too.